Greetings and welcome back to our supporter stream over here. I forgot to turn my fan off. Can you guys hear it? Or maybe I'll just keep it on. Okay. All right. Let me do a quick sound check on the Meteor mic. I completely forgot to do this. Hold on. I think we're good. All right. Okay, this is how much I changed my OBS settings. It still says Meteor mic. I haven't had that for, 5 years? I should really change my OBS settings anyway. Let me unmute you guys and do that so I don't forget. How's everybody doing?
Doing good.
Nice.
I'm doing good.
Yeah, we're doing okay.
Dan, what's my weather going to be like in a couple hours?
Your weather?
Yeah.
I have
you always
no
get
idea.
It first.
Well, I haven't had rain in 2 weeks. Every day it's like you get up, it goes up to 80-something degrees, and then it goes down to like 50-something at night.
Yeah.
And it's sunny every day.
It's been nice. It's been nice.
My lawn's turned brown and it's all burned up.
Yeah, mine is
very
too.
odd for September.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still up here. Although I did figure I did get the early voting stuff figured out. So I believe I can walk right on into the voting office in the next city over and actually cast a ballot in person at any time now. So I'll go do that. Make sure I get my vote in for whatever candidate you hate the most, because I'm all about division, you know. And then, but I'm still stuck here for a little bit longer because the first thing I need to do is I want to thoroughly test my heater. Just make sure that works. I don't have any surprises on the road because, I hear that Florida starts to freeze a lot.
Yeah.
And then I do want to order those fuses, Dan. They're actually on my list now. So I want to get those fuses for the next time the engine fuse melts. And I thought it did the other day. I smelled this whiff of burning plastic. I must have just been something on the road. So I stopped and evaluated everything, and it was all fine. And I actually have a temperature gun now, so I probed everything in the temperatures down there, and everything's fine. I mean, there's nothing overwhelmingly hot for something running 30 amps through it. And then we are wrapping up. I've decided that the Code Red book, the official release date should be October 2nd is what I put it into the system as. So I have that long until I get it done. I have one more editor is previewing everything, and I should have those notes back hopefully within the week. And I have the full cover designs done, and I just need those edits, push out the final design, do the ebook, and record the forward of the book for the audiobook, compile the audiobook, and we should be set to go. So
yeah, I think the cover looks really good.
Yeah, I did throw that on. I threw it on all of this, all the supporter channels, and I did it public. So if you are just subscribed to the supporter things, even if you're not a financial supporter, you can see what those covers look like. I published the whole wraparound, although I did notice there's a typo in the back cover. That's why I said I haven't proofed everything yet. There was a typo on the back cover I need to fix. That was on my list to do today, but I opted instead to do some van chores. I needed to change this. One of my 2 drawer slides, the lock mechanism broke, so I replaced that one. Wouldn't you know it? Talk about planned obsolescence. The same exact brand, the same exact size drawer slide, they changed them slightly. They inverted the lock so that the old slide mechanisms are not compatible. You can get them on, you just can't easily get them back off. And so I had to change both sides of the slide, not just the one side, simply because I need to be able to get the thing off sometimes. Oh, well. But the locking mechanism on the new version is actually stronger, so that's good. I kept on having situations where my computer drawer would slide open when I'm driving. Not good, And then I actually tore apart the whole back and cleaned everything down there and put everything back in nice and organized. And we had to fix one of the back latches. And is there something else? I thought there was. Oh yeah, I finally fixed the Raspberry Pi. If you remember the Raspberry Pi 5 video, you remember that the case that I have is a different size as the other one, and the holes are slightly different. So I had to jerry rig the Raspberry Pi onto the mounting board. I actually took all that down and mounted that because I ended up going out to Lowe's to pick up the Teflon screws that I needed to actually fix that properly. So So I got a bunch of van stuff done that was kind of bothering me. So I didn't get all of my work list done, but I got enough of my work list done to be happy and competent. So there you
You
have
put the
it.
Raspberry Pi out in front of the radiator so it stays really cool.
Oh yeah, there you go.
The only thing I'd do is clean the bugs out of it.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So it sounds like you might have some content for a van life video.
Yeah, if I turned on the camera, I might actually have some content, but it's just like, oh, yeah. I probably should have, but right now the van life channel is not a priority. I will, though, be returning to the writing channel soon. That is still, despite not uploading anything on that channel for over a year, it is still a fast-moving channel, and I think in 90 days I can reach monetization with it. The only thing I'm missing is 3 videos in 90 days, and I'm also missing simply 1,000 views in 1 calendar year. And so I think you need 3,000 now, and I'm at 2,000, a little north of 2,000. So I do have some good videos planned over there, and we're going to be doing some shifting into some writing consultancy stuff as well as we phase down out of web design, because it's just not a viable field I want to rest my hat on going forward. I'll keep the clients I have. I'll pick
They
up
don't
a few
teach
more.
writing more in school.
No, that's one of the challenges, and there's so much to doing writing. So I'm actually teaching a course in June on the topic. So I'm compiling a writer's course for that, and then I'll actually be putting that up online. So I have just piles and piles of things on my to-do list. It's kind of crazy. And also just an update on the story. I finished the short story for the month last night. I have, I think, 1 plot hole to close up. And then I need to do some edits. So it's not going to hit the 20th was my initial goal, but it will be out by the end of the month. I just need to do a couple rounds of edits. I might run it by another editor, and then we need to do the audiobook. So it'll be out by the end of the month. And then hopefully then we can get back on track to get them out midway through the month eventually. But I'm not going to push that too much. Well, that was about 10 minutes worth of updates. Anything else before we get into our topic? But, some people complain about that. Other people are like, yeah, it's kind of fun to hear the updates. So
I've been doing nothing but taking advantage of the warm weather and going outside and
there you go.
making sure my house is winter worthy. And
yeah.
I drained all the gasoline out of my lawnmower and ran it bone dry for the winter. And
and then it's going to start raining again. You're going to have to refill it up and do it all again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been warm here too. So 2 weeks ago, I switched my. We don't have air conditioners unit in Europe. We have heat pumps, which also function as air conditioner. It's just they also heat up the house during the winter. So I had 2 weeks ago. I switched it to heating mode, and I keep it at 17 degrees Celsius, which is rather cold. But I use a fireplace for everything above.
Yeah, heat pumps are bi-directional.
Yeah,
I'm at 27 Celsius right now.
Yeah, and today, we have been having a few days of warm weather. So today I actually had to switch it back to air conditioning because it got too hot inside.
We use natural gas for heat here because it's cheap. It's the cheapest out of everything.
Yeah.
Electricity is sky high.
Ivan, did you get any visits from the feds this week? I know they were out and about in New Hampshire. So.
Fortunately, no. And I've been here for the bulk of it, minus a couple, I guess, in the morning and the evening for work rides. That's pretty much it. But I have not been bothered.
All right, that's good. That's good. All right.
Yeah.
And we'll check in on the comments, and then we'll get to our topic. So I don't know. We'll have to remember to throw a little comment down there for anybody. Show starts here after we go live. So let's see. Commodore fan says I use RCS almost every day, so it's gonna be interesting. Yeah, you may not after today. Let's see. Hello, Ashton. Greetings. Currently trying to work on a steampunk space setting. Electricity is banned unless I find a situation in which it is entirely necessary. Yikes. Hey, I'm not even that crazy. Running on lithium batteries here. No, I'm not going to be talking about the pager events. It's unnecessarily political. It's still unnecessarily questionable. Things like that. I've heard everything from random error to supply chain hack with C4 involved. I don't know. Haven't looked into it. I just know I'm glad I don't have a pager floating around anywhere here.
I just have to say that whatever happened, it was an excellent performed execution, provided the rumors are true, which I think it is.
The rumors are true. The rumors are true. Yeah. So.
But it will take a few weeks before anything is official. And,
yeah, I think Mental Outlaw had a good 10-minute preview of what he thinks could be going on there. I'd probably recommend you to look at that because I'm not gonna take a ton of time looking into it. It's not directly related to anything I'm doing. Let's see. Florida Navajo, there you go. I never leave anything with those lithium batteries plugged in, especially when I'm not awake to monitor it. Yeah, that's fine. My whole van runs out. I was going to say, when I built the van, that first night after I plugged the batteries in, it's kind of like you didn't sleep as well. Did you mess something up? Are you going to wake up to a fireball or something? Now, I actually tested the van first with just a standard car battery. So I had just a standard 75 amp car battery, which is what I did all my initial early testing on. So I plugged everything into there because it's just a matter of swapping the terminals up into the two terminal bus bars. And so, I ran it with that. So if there's some major problem, a car battery's not nearly as destructive as 200 amps of lithium iron phosphate, So, yeah, these guys are saying explosions rigged inside, which is, a possibility.
Just commenting on the technical aspect, I saw a comment from someone who is an actual engineer and who works with building this stuff. And he says that one of the rumors is that they did something with the batteries in order to heat them up. And he says that the power in a lithium battery does not have enough explosive power to do what these papers did.
Yeah.
And so there was an additional component, and there is almost certain that someone has planted explosive in these particular devices because it was a whole shipment only to this state actor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was one of the things that Mental Outlaw had pointed out is that if it was an Israeli purchased or somehow tampered with the whole supply chain, so it looked like a supply chain attack is what it looked like, which is kind of terrifying. We hear about supply chain hacks putting spy chips in our computers, but this supply chain hack, you have some C4 embedded in your device, we'll blow it up if you're naughty. Kind of leads us into what could be going on here with RCS. Maybe we should get into that. In fact, I think I will. Let me stop here at Davel's comment. I don't trust RCS on the basis that it isn't supposed to be Fed-proof and doesn't it comply with wiretap compliance laws? Possibility. So we are actually going to stop there for now and get into our actual topic. And so we have a number of articles here. So the first is we have to get into what is RCS messaging. Now, what I don't know, maybe one of you guys do, is this the default on many phones now or not quite yet? But this was initially floated out a few years ago, and then they started implementing it more. So RCS here stands for Rich Communication Service. It's basically an upgrade to the SMS system, the short message service. Whereas SMS uses the basic cell network, doesn't use data, RCS does require a data line. So if you do not have access to data or internet, the RCS will not work, whereas SMS will still work. Meaning SMS does still have some use. And in light of this, then the RCS will backdrop to SMS in the event it's a basic text type message and the service cannot be reachable. So, of course, every piece you can find is all, how great it is and things like that. There's not a whole lot of deeply critical things on there outside of a few random posts, but that's okay. We don't even really need to read between the lines. We just have to read a couple documents to notice some of the inconsistencies in some of the messaging. So, right here, this one, Malwarebytes article is probably older. I don't see when this isn't like a blog post. It's more like an informational post. So it's a little out of date. Now, the reason we wanted to cover it today is because in the last few months, Samsung has gotten rid of its own messaging app and about 2 years ago, it defaulted to Google Messenger. Samsung app was still available. With the current new line of phones just coming out from Samsung, they will not even have Samsung Messenger installed. You can still install it if you find it in the Galaxy Play Store, but everything by default is Google Messenger. So, which means that Google had so much power here, it took one of the largest phone manufacturers who's trying to have its own ecosystem and suite of apps and got them to the point they're not messing with it because Google is not open about what's going on. Now, they can trust Apple. So in the last couple of months, it has been unveiled that the latest Samsung devices are not going to have Samsung Messenger. They are going to have Google Messenger on default so that the RCS experience is there. Now, there were versions of the Samsung Messenger in the past that have had RCS, but it does appear that they took them out. And so Samsung Messenger is just for SMS. But also, just recently, in the last couple of weeks, iOS 18 rolls out. iOS 18 supports RCS. So now all of those status symbols of having the right colored bubbles and all of the features of iMessage are now available Android to Apple through iMessage because iMessage is now supporting RCS. And so this is effectively what's going on. And so it begs the question, how secure is the messaging? What is the security and what is the privacy? That's kind of what we wanted to chat about. So I want to open the floor to you guys if you want to have anything you want to say here at this point.
Yeah, so for me personally, this would not affect anything because on my phone, the first thing I do on any phone that I get is that I turn off and removes everything that even remotely smells like a data connection or line. So my phone is not. It's capable of receiving MMS messages, which is also using the cellular line. It doesn't use the internet in any capacity, not in the core messaging anyway. So I'm using SMS. Precisely because it's not dependent on the internet working in order to get a message across. Mm-hmm. And it's supported by every mobile phone device on the planet. And you don't have to bother with knowing are they using my app or not.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the things that they bring up in all these articles. This is a new protocol that allows you to do this without installing another app. As long as your phone has Google Messenger installed. So let's circle back around and talk about those antitrust and monopoly cases again.
Yeah.
Dan, we can't hear you again.
Yeah.
Dan was having problems with the microphone earlier, and he jumped out and jumped back in, and so
he'll play with his USB cord.
Yeah, probably the USB cord. Let's give it just a second. Let's give Dan just a moment to see if he rematerializes back into the burnt out room in Detroit. And then
It's
and what need of that, I can just comment that earlier in the previous years, there has been some debate about the color of messaging, particular by Apple. There is in their iMessage, there is one color when they are messaging from one Apple device to another Apple device, and another color for every other device that is not using iMessage. And the reason for the changing coloring is not to say that these particular ones are using an Apple device, but they are using the encryption and security that the iMessage allows.
Correct. Yeah. I think it's like green and blue are the two colors, although I forget which one is which. Because, I'm not an Apple snob. If Dan's microphone works, he can tell us which color's which, I think. But yeah, it looks like Dan's microphone's not working. He might have to jump out and jump back in.
Or you could move switch the USB port unless you did that already.
Yeah, try a different USB port. Wait, I think we got something, Dan.
You got something?
Hey, we got something, Dan. All right, go ahead.
Okay. I have an iPhone, as everybody knows, and I was offered an update this week, and it turns out it offered me 17.7 or the move to 18, and this is how I learned about this new messaging RCS, and it gave me a choice to go to 18 or the 17.7, which was only security patches. iOS 18 is a whole new ball game with all kinds of new features and new apps and everything else. It includes replacing your existing iMessage with the new one that has RCS in it. Mm-hmm. But like I do now with every time I get offered an update, I find some other YouTubers that know something about it, listen to them, because I'm prone to always getting one of these updates trashing my battery. It don't last as long. Every once in a while you get a zinger like that, and then you have to roll your phone back. And then the battery comes back with it, Go figure. Yep. So most YouTubers I came across about this said to take the patch and don't take the iOS 18 upgrade until it's gone through a couple point releases, because it is new and it may have a lot of bugs in it, and they're just forcing it out so people can use this RCS type communication. But I was reading this Malware Bytes. It says that there is, if you go in the settings to your messenger, there's a place where you can turn the RCS off.
Correct.
And disable it.
Yeah. So effectively what RCS gets us on a technical level is it's like the iMessage for the Android. Utilizes an internet service. It can send larger blocks of text. It can send pictures, video, even website links. It can interact with maps. So it can do a whole variety of really cool things that some people really might want to have inside of their system. And it does allow that secure encrypted communication between an Android and an iPhone through the RCS bridge inside of the new iMessage. And so it does carry with it that ability. Now, as far as that goes on the security front, the messages, now not always, it has to depend on the app. So Google Messenger to Google Messenger is always end-to-end encrypted. As far as Google to Apple, I think no, it's not right now. They launched it out without. So iMessage to Google
Who is the
Messenger,
creator and the promoter of this?
Hold on a second. iMessage to Google Messenger right now is not end-to-end encrypted, but Apple is working on it and will have that eventually. Probably a point release or two, and you have it. And so effectively that is what we have. Now, as far as the privacy front, there's a lot of misconception through there, and that's what I want to spend a bulk of our time talking about, because I have serious questions based on reading all the documentation. And who's behind all this, Dan? Of course, it's the G-Man. It's Google.
Oh, God. You think taking them to court and smacking them around a few times would wake them up, but I guess not.
No, it's like, let's take him to court. Let's accuse him of being a monopoly. He says, well, we weren't, but now we will be. We'll prevent you from sideloading apps and force everybody onto our protocol. Welcome to Google, right? So, of course, Apple's in Mac world, Apple's move to RCS takes its first casually Samsung messages. So, again, Samsung, there was an early version of the Samsung Messenger app that had some elements of RCS enabled. However, those were taken out. And now Samsung is installing the Google Messenger by default and making that the default app. And now they're not even shipping the Samsung Messenger on the phones at all in the next iteration. And this comes on the heel of Apple supporting it. Now, why is it that Google will not work with Samsung to get RCS working, but Google will work with Apple to get it. Well,
because Samsung's not an American company, it's Korean.
I don't know if that's the reason as much as it is.
It's South Korean.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the reason as much as it is that Google and Apple have a form of duopoly. They realize that they're not going to win over the Apple users to use Android, and they want to solve that particular problem, so they'll work with them. The problem is that many people have called for Google to release the APIs or anything that allows people to use this in any open source apps, and Google simply will not do it. So this is a standard that is run and controlled by Google in a closed source proprietary app. And that is the biggest fundamental problem. So,
Could you imagine if we still had Huawei phones?
Yeah, there you go. Of course, this was an Android Central a year and a half ago, January 2023. How to set up RCS chat on Samsung phones with Samsung Messengers. Subtitled, just use Google Messages. Okay, so when they did this article, when they first released this article, you did have the options, but then they do tell us down here in the bottom that, yeah, Samsung got rid of all that. You just need to set up Google Messenger now. So right now, that's what your protocol is. So this raised a lot of fascinating questions that people asked. And so from privacy guides, there was some discussion about RCS. And I thought that this discussion and its subsequent comments were actually excellent. So this guy asks, since the SMT thing, I have been looking, I don't know what the SMT is. I've been looking for a new app to replace the infamous Graphene OS SMS app. Google Message is the only app at the moment that supports RCS, and you don't necessarily need a Google account to use it. Messages sent by RCS are end-to-end encrypted, so on paper it's still a good application. I don't know how RCS works technically, and I'd like to know whether Google collects any data, since a Google account isn't compulsory. The problem is that it's Google behind the scenes, and I have absolutely no confidence in them. What do you think is Google Messenger an app to use, or is it better to stick with a classic SMS app?
They still collect the SMS messages too.
Correct. And that's really what people are getting down to. Although the difference is, though, is that the SMS message, if you're not using their particular messenger, it doesn't go through their servers. It just goes onto the app you're using. Whereas if you're using Google Messenger, yes, they can collect the SMS in theory. They can collect the RCS in theory. And we'll get to, is that really theory or is that practice, in a few minutes here, because I find some interesting, compelling documents on Google's own website that seem to contradict the answers to those questions.
It used to be the cell phone carriers collected the SMS messages and
Correct.
stored them.
And that's generally how it still is today. Unless you're using some service like iMessage, it can be tied into your account, or Signal or something like that, WhatsApp. Those types of things are on those particular respective services. So this guy answers back, says, no, one day maybe, but today it's a flawed assumption. Messages sent between two users, both using RCS via Google Message app, are end-to-end encrypted. So you have to have both users using Google Message app. If both users are not using the Google Messenger app, the message is still not encrypted. Therefore, it is susceptible to be captured in air. So at this point, the E2E is not part of the standard, and you can't count on RCS benign E2E encryption. Google to Samsung or Samsung to Samsung will not be encrypted. Google Messenger is the only client that supports the encryption. And then he goes in, it's highly unlikely that Google is not collecting or processing your metadata at the very least, and possibly actual content of your unencrypted conversations. It may also be possible for other intermediaries to collect this information in some or most contexts, such as your carrier or other persons. Now, that's what RCS will do, is your carrier can no longer have access to your message because it's not going unencrypted over their network. It's going encrypted through the internet. So your carrier is not as susceptible to gathering that information as long as you're using something that's end-to-end encrypted. So this is where he boils down to it. You have an untrustworthy closed source app from an untrustworthy data harvesting company, but at least some of your percentage of your conversations will be encrypted. On the other hand, you could try find a more trustworthy SMS app, maybe even one that supports RCS, but then you'd be giving up the end-to-end encryption for whatever percentage of conversations would have been Google to Google. It comes down to choosing the lesser of two evils. Do you want an open source app you can trust that uses a form of communication you cannot trust, or do you want an app you can't trust from a company you can't trust, where at least some percentage of your conversations would be end-to-end encrypted? What matters most to you? And so that is a compelling question. We are either stuck with using an open source app with an unsecure protocol, or a untrustworthy app with an allegedly secure protocol. And that's really where the hinge pin of the conversation begins.
So I opened the Wikipedia article on this RCS protocol. And the protocol itself is open source, it does require, but it uses the SIP protocol like IP phones uses. So it's the same underlying way of establishing contact with another device as using an IP phone these days, which most offices are using.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Do they have a reliable source for that on Wikipedia? Because the problem is that a lot of applications, like a lot of messenger apps, wants to implement this, but they can't because Google is not releasing some form of API. That's really what the conversation has been as I was digging through a lot of the specs on it. So I think the problem is there's a lot of misunderstanding about the quality of the specs at all, and that raises one question as well.
Yeah, but the protocol itself is an industry standard guided by the GSM association.
Okay.
So,
is it the encryption? I think is not part of the standard.
Say again.
The encryption, I think they say, is not part of the standard.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's the fundamental problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
But to your question, personally, if the choice was to use a closed source app using some form of encryption that we are not sure of how it will work, versus using an open source protocol that is unencrypted, I will choose the open source each time. And for those who really care, they can deploy their own encryption, which works internally in an organization, say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Are we ready to get into where the privacy concerns happen to be? Grab your tinfoil hats, folks, because this is going to be an interesting dive into the Google documents here. So, on the surface, this is the basics of privacy in Google messaging. Now, of course, the default in Google messaging is RCS, which you can disable if you want. So, effectively, what they're saying here is that in this, keeping you safe online means protecting your information and respecting your privacy. That's why we focus on keeping your information secure, treating it responsibly, and keeping you in control within Google Messages and every product we make. Your information is protected by world-class security, of course. I'm not thinking world-class is just an adjective thrown in by corporate double speakers, but anyway. Information about the privacy on Google Messages, keep reading the article. For information about privacy tools, visit the Google Safety Center. Important to make sure your personal information isn't shared more widely than you intend. Be aware of your Google account privacy settings. The settings include when messaging people who aren't in your contacts. So this probably more likely than not just deals with whom you message and things like that. Now, this is where we get into some of the weeds here. So if you have a one-to-one group chat messages with other Google Messengers, users are private and encrypted end-to-end by default. So when you message somebody who also has RCS chats turned on in Google Messages, your chat conversations automatically upgrade to end-to-end encryption. With that end-to-end, no one can read the content sent between you and the person. And they even say it might be, let's see, we have a couple different articles up here, which we are going to look at several of them. All right. So your contacts, we use information about your contacts to identify who is available to chat. Your location, when you choose to share your location in Google Messenger collects your location. To turn off location collection, you can remove location permissions from inside this. Now, does that mean it's going into your Google account or not? We don't know. So this is where we get into the weeds a little bit. To improve Google Messages performance and reliability to help with troubleshooting issues, Google Messages collects performance data, crash logs, and diagnostics. We use this information to prevent abuse of our services. So how are we abusing our services if we're just using information for performance data? Performance data, crash logs, and diagnostics will not help prevent abuses of the service necessarily. Certain features like
the sentence says that they also use this information to prevent abuse of service.
Also, yes. But what do they mean by abuse of our services if they can't see the content of your messages? Especially when the next sentence says certain features like spam detection require that Google Messages use additional data to improve those features and Google's other products and services. So you have an option of turning on help improve messages, and you have the option of reporting spam. So it says down here, Google Messages does not use information collected in our app for advertising. Now, it does say somewhere else in one of these linked documents, it's not this one, but it's one of these other linked documents, it says Google does not collect your messages. And I got to find out which one.
I find that
one
very
happens
hard to believe.
Well, I do as well for reasons we're going to get into in a moment. So Google Messages uses secure federated technology so you can get better, more personalized smart features such as smart reply and other assistive suggestions while keeping your conversations private and on your phone. So here's how their federation works. This is effectively a deployment of, if you remember, the FLAC model that they backtracked on because everyone said was absolutely crazy. They are actually taking snippets of messages and throwing them into an anonymizer service, merging all this stuff together with thousands of other similar messages according to what they say, and then utilizing this to train AI models, which will then be used to detect the things you're writing within the app to provide auto replies and stuff like that. So with this setting turned on, so of course you can turn this off, the federated technology works with your messages, other interactions, and machine learning models improve features of Google Messenger app and ensure that none of your messages, content, or data is sent to Google. How does it do this? Let's double speak. Google Messages machine learning models from the foundational technology driving the smart and assistive feature of the app. These models continuously improve through fine-tuned adjustments without sending your conversation content to Google. First, Google Messenger sends summaries of the recent model changes to Google servers. Next, the summaries are combined with summaries from thousands of other devices. Finally, these are combined summaries. The improved model provides a smart feature to work that work better for everyone, and the combined summaries can't reveal your conversations or content to Google or anyone else. So data is being sent to some aggregating server. It's just quote-unquote Google can't see it. That's not even the worst of it, especially since you can turn this kind of stuff off. It does say to keep your data private, the Federated Technologies uses a secure aggregation method of grouping similar adjustments together. And they keep on saying similar adjustments. What does that word mean? Adjustment on its surface means I'm going to take this and shift it to this. What do they mean by collecting adjustments? It is a nonsense term.
Yeah.
So that Google can't inspect the adjustment from a single device. The cryptographic protocol of secure aggregation prevents Google servers from inspecting the individual adjustments, which protects the privacy of your individual adjustments. That is a nonsense sentence.
It sounds like the adjustment they are talking about is you have a device with this feature, and you can make adjustments to what it's doing. It sounds like the adjustment are your adjustments, which lives only on your device, and it impacts them.
Your config file.
Yeah.
Well,
it sounds like it.
How does a small config file make this AI federated system work? That doesn't make sense. I think adjustments is literally their code for some message snippet.
Yeah, because the closest word I can think of to adjustments is tweak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot see how this is a config file.
Might be it might be that there is something on the messaging app that so you configure it to allow this but not this and so on.
Okay.
So the grouping they're talking about sounds like they are comparing certain groups of users who have the same set of adjustments made versus another group of people who have some other adjustments made to see how this affects the use of the servers and if it creates a problem in any way. It sounds like they are comparing what the difference is between the two types of users.
I don't know. I just can't imagine that there's that many setting differences in the app that's useful data. I don't know. We'll table that one because that's not even really the most troubling thing I find in all this. So I think this one might be, how does end-to-end encryption in Google Messages provide more security? So Google Messages supports end-to-end encryption when the messages messaging other users using Google Messages over rich communication services. When available, messages and their attachments such as photos and videos will be end-to-end encrypted. End-to-end encryption is a secure method that keeps your communication secure. With end-to-end encryption, no one, including Google and third parties, can read eligible messages as they travel between your phone and the phone message. Now, again, we can read that a couple ways. While it travels is in motion encryption, which is different than at rest encryption. Is Google going to produce a protocol that is going to prevent them from being able to see any messages, especially since an in motion encryption means that the telecom carrier cannot read that message? So they use that specific word between there, but they also say Google can't read it either. That is what we're going to
They might be trying to create the same type of encryption that Apple has in their iMessage service, which all the encryption keys lives on the individual devices, and Apple or its subsidiaries do not have any copy or ability to decrypt the content, unless it is backed up on iCloud, on which all bets are off. It sounds like they're trying to do something similar because they have seen that Apple has successfully resisted any type of force to make them lower the or circumvent it in some ways, so that approved state actors can read the messages. So then Google see that Apple has successfully done this, and now they're thinking that if Apple is successful in doing this, and there is some that there are some cases that confirms this, that this means that they are safe to try to do something similar.
That's exactly the way it sounds.
Well, they keep adding more and more junk to these phones, and that's what it is it's junk to where the phone is no longer even a phone anymore.
I don't want to jump down that rabbit hole yet because we are, I want to get right back here and stay on this topic right here, and then we can jump to junk apps. That's fine. But I agree completely with what Selby said. That's exactly what it sounds like they are doing, is they are saying we are creating a system. Now, the way this is worded, it looks like it is... Sorry, guys. The way this is working, it sounds like it's exactly as Selby said, in motion encryption. Is it at rest or not? They suggest it is, but I have questions, and here's where those questions come into play. Okay? Here's where the questions come into play. So reporting spam to Google Messages. When you report a conversation as spam, you also block the sender and move the message to your spam and blocked folder. Google employees and contractors may also review your spam information to help improve Google's spam and abuse protection for Google Messages and Google's other products and services. Reported conversations are also used to train AI models to improve spam and abuse protection. So Again, we have a protocol that they are alleging they can't see, yet they have spam and abuse protections built into it. How? B, have a look at this. When you report it, the spammer's phone number is reported to Google. Google gets a copy of the last 10 incoming messages from the spammer so we can improve spam detection. In a group conversation, this can include messages from other users than the spammer. Each reported message includes the sender's phone number and a timestamp. Each reported message includes an identifying message ID, centralized message IDs. And each reported RCS group conversation includes the group ID. So it goes into your country code. Your past replies aren't sent. Your name and phone number aren't linked to the spammer's message. The spammers can't view your report and won't know about it. But what's interesting to me is that Google gets a copy of the last 10 incoming messages from the spammer. How do they get that information if they don't have the encryption keys? That's why I think that policy that sounds end-to-end encrypted is written exactly the way it is, because it sounds like it's in motion encryption, not at rest on our servers encryption. The biggest problem with this RCS, everything has to filter through Google. It's a centralized messaging platform.
Yeah, and this is one of these sections on the Wikipedia article said that, and I checked a few sources, and it sounds like so in 2019, The Verge had an article about the carriers, particularly in the US. They didn't support RCS in every market, is the term that is used, which forced Google to, because Google wanted to use the RCS, and they were forced to use a centralized servers in order to do this, to circumvent the resistance from the carriers. Mm-hmm. And it was recognized by government entities and a few others that this was a valid reason for Google to actually do this. And here we are.
Yeah, call me crazy. I'm not going to trust it.
I don't either. It's like it's just not a piece of junk they're adding to a utility to make it so you got to just not want it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, for me, what I do is that, just because of things such as that, is I delete all of my messages because I don't need them anymore. I don't want to confuse myself for when I'm trying to text somebody or whatnot. But, it's like, there's no need for that to be there anymore. And in the same stroke, it's like, if there's nothing there, then there's nothing there for it to be taken, because once the text is on one end or the other, my approach is all bets are off.
Well, according to the malware bites, the first article Tom read, I read some of it. The RCS messaging system is supposed to do a way lot more than the standard messaging system does. It's supposed to play videos.
Yep.
It's supposed to do all kinds of things. And then when I started, as more I read it, the more I started thinking about it, is Google's trying to make their own version of TikTok and steal the messaging system.
Well, it's more like their own version of iMessage or Signal or something like that.
Well, I have iMessage, and it don't do quite that much junk.
Yeah, it might do more than iMessage, but it's effectively like iMessage for Android.
I mean, you can send a pic on iMessage, but it doesn't do videos. This thing is stuck right in between messaging and emailing.
Yeah. That's kind of the point. They want to bring telecommunication to the next level. Of course, I didn't include it in the show notes. I wish I kind of did. It was from a business advisory system, and what they were doing is talk about the great benefits of this for your business. So now you'll get rich, basically web pages sent to your messaging app on your phone. And now the way, one of the security protocols we didn't talk about much here, and it's not as much on the just on the consumer end as it is on the business end, but there is an ID validation you can do as well. So you can link yourself in and report yourself as a legitimate business, And that way, you could start using text messaging apps to do a lot more stuff than you could before. And we've seen this start to pop up in things like Constant Contact and MailChimp and things like that are trying to be a lot more than just a messaging, like an email platform. They're trying to be like a full CRM with text messaging and all sorts of fun stuff like this. They're attempting to do more stuff than they probably should. And one of the ones that we're always fighting with is, you should turn on text messaging apps. Like, no, I don't really want to be bothering people with that kind of crap. Of course, if they gave us your phone number, you're probably asking for it. But, for my clients, we're just doing what we can to keep the business open. So, whatever works, right? but yeah, it was like full rich web page type things being sent to your messaging app. No, I don't even like receiving regular text messages, let alone a whole bunch of crap in there that's like a giant web page. Now you're going to give me a full page ad in the web page for the SMS that you sent to me. No, I'm just going to go back to a dumb flip phone. Thank you.
Yeah, there's nothing like your messenger going kaplink when you're sleeping at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah, there's Solbu showing off his cool stuff.
Yeah, this is the phone that I'm using. It
go.
does have internet capabilities, but I have turned it off. And it's a very rudimentary web browser, and it's a pain to use, which fits me. So the web browser, I've seen a few videos of other people showing how to use this. And the web browser is hard to use and a pain to use, which fits me perfectly because I don't want internet on my phone.
You know what I think they need to return for the people that want just like your basic flip phone type stuff with maybe a little bit of data? Way back when 3G was first coming online, I had an Alias 2 phone. Best cell phone I ever had. It was a dual flip. It was really tiny, like really tiny when it was all closed up. You could flip it this way and have your standard keyboard for calling, but you could then flip it up this way and you had a full QWERTY keyboard. It was nice. The coolest phone ever. I still have it in storage because it's so cool, but it's unfortunately doesn't work with any networks in the United States anymore because of the whole turning off the 3G crap. But it's really interesting. That was like, we need to see that phone come back for the modern era because it's not a smartphone, but it can do a little bit more advanced basic things. Text messaging on that was awesome because you had a QWERTY, like a physical QWERTY keyboard. It was totally awesome. You should look that up. It's the Alias 2 phone. I think, was it Samsung maybe? I forget. LG maybe, I forget. But it's called the Alias 2. That's my content. Any other commentary on that?
I myself like the iPhone 5. It had the perfect balance of everything you'd ever need, except the camera wasn't as good as they are now. Oh, do you want to talk about more, Dan, about the crazy feature creep into phones now? Yes. Okay. when they like I said, the iPhone 5 had the perfect balance of anything you would need in a phone. It had a music player, a camera, it had basic stuff, and a messenger. Then over the years, Apple just kept piling software and more software and more software on it. One day I get an update. This is right after I bought the SE phone when I upgraded for my 7. And I took the upgrade, and one of the features in the upgrade was this new app called Journal. I'm like, what in the heck do I need a journal app for? Yeah, I don't even want half of the apps they supply now for free that come with the phone. It's like 3 pages. Yeah. You put all your junk you use on the first page and forget about the rest of them. Or uninstall them. But if you uninstall them and do a major upgrade, it puts them all back. Yep.
I found the Alias 2 phone there's a dedicated Wikipedia article on it. And it was released in 2009, and it had 100 megabyte memory on it, and you could upgrade to a maximum of 16 gigabyte via an SD card slot. But there's a long time ago when since 100 megabytes on a phone were enough to store random things.
Yeah, it was a good phone though.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it. Alias 2 phone. Yeah, they need to bring that thing back with modern modems.
The iPhone 5 I had 4 gigabytes on it. If you shot any video with it, you were done within a couple minutes.
Yeah, here it is. Look at this beast. So you had this as your standard phone. So you had like a lot more buttons than usual, right? And then you had your now this one here. This is a QWERTY keyboard, but this one they actually have the number pad on that. Let's see if they have the actual QWERTY. That's not the Alias 2.
I just was going to say, I wouldn't trust Google for anything privacy or security, really security related anymore. I don't trust them at all.
Yeah, so they don't have a picture of the Alias 2 with the actual QWERTY keyboard, but they flip it this way, and the default was the QWERTY keyboard. There was a button you could hit to turn back into this one. It's this one down here. But it
looks like a step up from a Blueberry or BlackBerry.
Yeah, it was actually the BlackBerry was a step up from this actually, but this was when I started my web design company. That was actually the phone I had for that, which was totally awesome.
Are we still live or no?
Yes, we are still live.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Yeah. So, yeah. Let me check in on comments here, and then we'll kind of wrap it up and go off live here. Let's see. Lenovo laptops are tested. Let's see. Decade-old laptops have removable batteries. Yep, I have. I still have one with a removable battery. Of course, your Dells are very easy to change your batteries. So
I have the tools to change the battery in my phone, except I can't find a replacement.
Oh, hold on. We had a super chat down there. Commodore fan, $3 super chat. Well, thank you, man. And of course, I lost complete track of where I was at in my comments. So there we are. All right. Let me check in. We got 35 watching on Zatubies right now. Let me actually sit up so I can read better. All right. Maybe Lithium has Lithium AA, but the page I saw blew up was an old Moto with a AA in it. There you go. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. I'm going to get off the pager talk. Makes me wonder if Apple want their modems in-house for their own reasons. Yeah, there you go. They shut down my pager service. The external keyboard is the BlackBerry style, but it's not for, let's see. Let's see. Doctors still use them in hospitals as the buildings can block cell signals, but not pagers. Yeah.
Yeah, they still do that in some places, even in Norway, as an internal messaging service.
Yeah. Samsung has a login page for partners to make their encrypted phones for feds and a high risk like air traffic control managers. Yeah. Why is an air traffic control manager a high risk person? I mean, I guess you could bribe them to crash 2 planes together. I don't know. I mean, Boeing does a good enough job of that as it is.
Yeah, but you can't actually do that nowadays because all commercial planes, at least, and most private planes have the TCAS collision avoidance system. So when they get within a certain distance of each other, the TCAS makes a decision about this plane is going to do this maneuver and the other plane is going to do this maneuver. Yeah. And this system overrides the traffic controllers. The traffic controllers have no say in what you are doing at this point.
Yeah.
But you do have to tell the controllers that you are doing this as because the TCAS told you to. So.
Seen evidence of lithium batteries going off. EVs are a good example. Yeah, I saw some video of a Tesla semi truck blowing up on the side of the road the other day. That was gnarly.
Yeah, they shut down the highway for a few hours.
Yeah,
they said it took something like 30,000 gallons of water to put it out.
Where was that at? It was on I-80, but where at?
I can't remember
because
I just watched the video.
I can't remember anywhere in I-80 where they would be running a Tesla semi, because I thought the Tesla semis were kind of like restricted to Arizona, California runs, which is That's not 80. That's 20, 10 or 20. So
one got away.
Apparently.
Well, they have
and Skynet blew it up for its iniquity.
The Amazon trucks, nearly half of them are like battery powered now too. They even buzz around here, which really freaks everybody out because we live in stick houses. You know, they catch on fire real easy.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely don't want one of those blown up on you.
No.
Is Signal a good option? Like, I have concerns about the people who are managing Signal right now. I think their board is starting to become compromised, but I think the protocol is still good, and the fact it's still open source is good. So I would say Signal is still trustable.
Yeah, the problem that I have with Signal is that they actually require you to have to connect a phone number in order to use it, which is why I'm not using it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's much the same with SMS and RCS. But
Telegram is the same way.
But Signal does need an account, whereas the other ones just uses the system.
Yeah.
Telegram, I think you can do Telegram without a phone number now.
No, well, unless they changed it recently.
I have no idea. I've never been a fan of Telegram.
I haven't either, but I have it lingering around because I used to go and be part of the Big Daddy Linux program that was going on. Besides,
isn't Telegram obsolete these days?
No, they still use it.
No. They have finally agreed to start working with authorities though. There's something about throwing your CEO in jail that causes you to start working with authorities. Watch this. RCS is considered stored communication under ECPA and is protected from warrantless seizures, but with black boxes and trunk lines, I don't particularly trust RCS. It's protected from warrantless seizure, but you know that they can rubber stamp any warrant all day long, which is why they can collect everything out of your Microsoft account without you even knowing about it. So,
yeah, the last time I installed Telegram on a computer, especially this Linux computer, you had to actually install the Telegram app on your phone and let it have your phone number. When you installed it on the computer, it wouldn't let you go to any farther than a certain point where it showed a QR code. You had to use your phone to activate it. Once your phone seen the QR code, then the app on the computer would work. Really weird.
Which is why I'm not using those kinds of services.
Yeah, they're very way out there.
Yep.
It's probably the last time I'm going to, endeavor in that.
This is one of the reasons that I'm still using IRC, which was invented in 1988 by, I think it was a Finnish graduate student. And it's still running to this day. And it's today it's mainly used by developers and distribution coordination and so on. So it's not much your everyday Joe no longer uses RC. That was in 2003 or 2003 was the high point of IRC. And then Microsoft Messenger came along, and all the and a lot of users moved to that, including what we used to call all the lamers and troublemakers. They disappeared. So
yeah, about 5 years ago, when we did Saturday Night Gaming, we used Mumble to communicate.
Yeah,
there you go.
Discord's wide open now.
Then everybody lined up, you gotta use Discord. You gotta use Discord. Now Discord is just turning into an overbloated ad pitching machine.
I actually managed to on the when I joined the Norwegian Unix user group data association in Norway in 2013, they used Mumble for their board meetings, and I managed to get Let's Encrypt certificates when that came along years later. I managed to get a valid SSL certificate on Mumble. Auto renewing and so on.
You can have a private server on Discord, but everybody on that Discord server has the trust of everybody else.
Well,
And also
not
just-
to mention the how easy it is to grab yourself like a FIDA warrant to get in there, as the tenant media controversy just demonstrated. You know, they were in that Discord server for they don't know how long, spying on everything going on in there. Nobody knew about it.
And it's not even a server; it's just another fancy word for a group hangout with several channels. It's not actually a server. That's a misnomer.
His primary use is like we're doing with Jitsi, or sending some text messages back and forth.
Yeah.
Or you just it's
If
just
Google's setting it up, it's a way they can push more ads. There you go.
What is the touted benefit of RCS? What is it supposed to do better?
I mean, it does a whole lot of more modern communication things that SMS doesn't do.
Like gifts and stuff like that. Like
yeah, we can
video
spam each other
gifts.
with cat gifts now.
full
Totally
gifts,
awesome.
videos,
It's got more features.
That's right.
videos of
it's Google's version of TikTok.
assignation.
Actually.
Yeah.
Somebody tried to.
All right.
delete.
I think we are going to wrap up the live portion for tonight. So if you're a supporter and you want to hang out, you can go ahead and join us on that. We will have a Christian video tonight. We are starting the book of Zechariah. It will be at 9 o'clock, so in roughly an hour from now, a little less than an hour. So if you are interested in such Christian things, you can go ahead and join us on over there. Let me grab that
And for
over
those
here.
who are interested, so on my YouTube channel, the latest video that I released this week was about an Oregon tow truck called Casey Liddell, and the stuff that he has to endure on YouTube in the comment section. So you might,
okay.
some people might find that interesting.
Yeah, I didn't see that pop up yet. I'll have to look for it.
When you visit the ATM, watch out for the robot dogs with the laser beams.
Okay. On that note, we are going to go ahead and jump on off. So with that, yeah, be back tomorrow with the weekly news roundup. If you're over on the Christian stream, I might pop in there. I might not. We'll see how long it takes me to get my news done. But with that, guys, thanks for watching. And